Bang! And we're in.
Hello.
Good evening. Hang on a second. I'm just going to open my canny cider since it's Hogmany. Yeah, might as well. Evening all. Bloody hell, we've got 6 people in apparently.
Bloody hell. That's fast going. Cheers.
Yeah, we'll get this elephant out the room right away. The beard. I left the dye on too long. I went to see my girlfriend yesterday and she went, "The fuck have you done to your beard?" I'm like, "What? Just look at it. It looks like a stick on. It looks like one of the fake beards." Like, I was, "Oh, for fuck's sake." Anyway. What the hell. Evening, Mr. Awakens and Ian Hunter. How are you, Ian? I noticed, Ian, you posted on my... I did manage to put a Friday waffle. Ian, I think you were saying you had pneumonia. Bloody hell, mate. I hope you're feeling okay, mate. Yeah, there's so much of it going around at the moment. It's not been good. I hope you're feeling a lot better. So what's tonight's feature film there? Well, fuck, it's just finished.
Yeah, I know. I just told you it was Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry. That's not much good if it's finished. Can we have a request? Would anybody like to pick a film that we want to watch?
I don't know what's on. Let's have a look. Let's go to movies.
Ah, dearie me.
Harry Potter, Gremlins, Close Encounters of the First Kind.
Gremlins on. Gremlins is always good, but good fun.
Well, that ends in half an hour, but at least it's on now.
Nice. We'll worry about something else after that one. Oh, yeah. I've already done the waffle. I've already asked how people were. How was everybody's Christmas? What about yourself, Dale? What were you? I take it you had quite a quiet one.
Yeah, mine was a bit similar to yours from your waffle, really. I can't say it's worse than last year because last year I was by myself. When we were doing the Hogmany last year, I mentioned that I was pretty much by myself. My mother went to my sister's, so yeah. This year, at least I had company. Had a nice roast dinner. You know, those things make all the difference. So, you know, that's great. But saying that, I was looking forward so much to 10 days off like you were and got nothing done. I felt like doing absolutely nothing. And it's just another lost week, really, where I should be going into the new year with much more excitement than I am.
I know. You see all the people on Facebook, Happy New Year and all that kind of stuff. And is anything going to change? I always think it's quite funny that people think that at the stroke of midnight, everything's going to be brilliant. But I don't know. Surely, we're not going to dwell on COVID, but surely this time next year it'll have fucked off. I really, really do hope it has, because I think we're all just. I think we all feel like we've had the utter shit kicked out of us. And for me personally, I kind of feel like I've got no fight left in me when it comes to trying to manage it. It's just that fucking it's tiring. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is at this particular stage, is that there will be no cure. It'll be like the flu. There will just be variants and variants and variants. You'll go for flu vaccination jabs. I think things will diminish on regards to lockdowns and face masks and stuff as it becomes more like a flu type thing.
Well, the thing is, you know what?
That's it, really.
Before COVID came along, if you were going to a party or your mate was coming up to the house and you were sneezing your bollocks off and you were fucking blowing your nose and you felt like shit, you would pick the phone up and say, "Listen, mate, I don't think it's a good idea you come up tonight because I'm feeling like shit." That's what we should be doing now instead of this isolate for 10 days, and it's just, it fucks everything up. It really does. But hey, listen, this is a celebration. I don't want it to be a doom and gloom video. I mean, we've got a bit of Gremlins going on there. You can't even.
I think they're watching Snow White. Yeah, there we go.
Dear. Anyway, have you been playing many games over the the festive period?
I've played a few. I must admit I have not had the enthusiasm to play virtually anything. I did have a little go on Forza Horizon 5 on the Xbox, and a little bit of Age of Empires 4 on my PC. That's about it. I really haven't done hardly anything. I feel bad actually because the high score, your Mamemeister high score thing is Gyrus this week. I mean,
Oh,
I should be all over that. Gyrus is, one of my favorite games, and they're all speculating over should I play this with a mouse, and I'm going, no, it's a digital joystick.
yeah.
It plays in quarters. You get to halfway and then you have to shift up and then turn right to go around the outside. You just got to learn where they come in from,
I
and
was
then
actually,
so.
I was actually playing. I was actually playing that on my Xbox X. What's interesting is, I mean, I bought a lot of the Xbox arcade, is it live arcade games. I've got things like Track and Field and all that. But I noticed in things like what the hell do you call it? Turbo Outrun, not Turbo Outrun, Outrun 2. And then there's Afterburner, but apparently they lost the licenses for these, so unless you've bought it, you can't get it, if that makes any sense. But I noticed I don't have the option to play these on the new system, the same with like Track and Field, so they must have kind of stopped supporting that. I'm not quite sure.
I sent you the video footage of the Xbox 360 version of Gyrus. They modernized it. You can play it as the standard. You can play it as the standard arcade, or you can look at it with the enhanced graphics, enhanced soundtrack.
Yeah.
And what I tended to do, I played it with the enhanced soundtrack, but with the old graphics, because the new soundtrack was in stereo and it was booming, and it was like that. That really is nice. Even though the arcade soundtrack is absolutely fantastic, the new modernized version of it it's great. You know what I mean?
It is a great tune. Listen, thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in tonight. We've got very remarkable evening. Have I missed much? Nah, not really. We've just been moaning about COVID. We've literally just kicked off about 5 minutes ago. Ian Hunter's saying there, nice to see Del Boy. My copy of Gremlins is a grainy VHS.
Gremlins was always it's a Christmas film. I mean, it's one of those things where they talk about Die Hard. On your waffle, you were saying what makes a Christmas film.
Yeah.
Gremlins is a Christmas film. She talks about her dad falling down the chimney and breaking his neck at Christmas. It's a Christmas film. They mention Christmas. There's snow. What more do you want? It's Christmas.
Hang on, talking about VHS mess, you've gone kind of mega blurry. I don't know. Oh. You better be your webcam a little rub or something. I don't know what you've done. That's better. More importantly, Gremlins was out of focus here, but we can see.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
You're talking about Forza. Was it Forza Horizon 5? I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, I've got the Xbox, the new Xbox. I do like having it. I've been playing it quite a lot. What did I download? I downloaded one of the Formula 1 driving games. For fuck's sake! I just wanted to race.
Yes.
And fuck me! I mean, you've got to create your name. You've got to create a nickname. You've got to do a profile, and I actually gave up. I ended up switching it off because I couldn't.
It's like a movie because in the first 10 minutes it's like welcome to Forza Horizon. You play sort of like 3 little sections of a race, and then you end up at the festival, and then it says, "Oh, you're the new name, are you? Oh, you're going to be making a name for yourself," and it is open to wherever you want to go, but there's too much of this. Go up here and take a photograph of this statue and all sorts of stuff.
Obviously these games are targeted at 20-somethings. So, yeah. I mean, when you're trying to make an avatar, fuck me, I'm fucking 54 years old. I dye my beard. I'm bald. You've got somebody that looks absolutely nothing like you. It's like when you go to Facebook, you see a lot of people. They have like happy Merry Christmas to all my friends, and they've got this little cartoon of themselves. You think, oh, she looks lovely, and then you actually look at her profile, like, oh, for fuck's sake! I mean, you have all these avatars that look nothing like them.
Yeah.
In race games, I don't know.
The swipe left, swipe right community, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what Paul Morrison's saying. Their storylines should be banned from racing games.
Yeah, I think so. It's all right as a manager. It's nice to add a management element to it. There was the Formula One game started to add a management type system, like you're the manager of Mercedes, say, and you race as one of the drivers, and you also do some of the background stuff, like the money and arranging all the the testing and all of that sort of stuff. But the Forza, honestly, it's a great game. It's a nice game. It's open-ended and the graphics look absolutely wonderful, but it shouldn't have a story in it. It really should have been you're plonked into the middle of Mexico, now go do what you want. You know what I mean? And bang. But they have to put all this stunt crap in it and take a picture of this. And
if you're wanting to play an adventure game, you'll buy Final Fantasy. You want to have a storyline. You want to have a point to it. If you're buying a racing game, you just want to race. You just want to pick, arcade mode or career mode. Yeah, you stick your name in it, away you go. When did games unnecessarily start putting story modes into games, do you think?
That's a difficult one, because for the longest period of my life, it was all single player, and then suddenly they started bringing in LAN play, and then they started doing, when the internet came along, they started doing multiplayer, and then all of a sudden the single player element sort of went away totally. Everything had to be multiplayer. So there is a time where it went from LAN to the internet, and then probably a couple of years into that, I should think. So what would that be? Probably 96, 97.
Yeah,
possibly later.
Yeah, Paul Amos is saying here he thinks that Need for Speed started it with racing games.
Yeah. I mean, definite.
Yeah, on the Xbox 360, you had all this bollocks, the people talked, that kind of stuff. Saying that, even things like when you think about it, I mean, to a lesser degree, what was the game? American. Oh fuck! What was it called? It was by
American McGee.
No. It was by Titus Software, who did the absolute abysmal Crazy Cars 1 and 2. They brought out American. What's it? I've got the game at the start of my videos. I've got a 5-second snippet.
You start off in a 1912 type car, and it just goes on and on and on, and you change.
Yeah, it's a Ferrari, but we had, and I suppose things like Road Rash, where you had all the cut scenes and you want to bet and all this kind of stuff. So that was kind of. You could get past that, but I remember buying one of my favourite handheld games was Golf on the Game Boy. That's what it was called, Golf. And it was great.
For that.
It's a brilliant game. It's an absolutely fantastic game. And then I bought, I can't remember, was it on the Game Boy Advance? I think they then called it Mario Golf. And then, fuck me, you've got a whole story mode. You've got to walk about, and then you've got a wee girl that follows you, and then you meet somebody, and you've got to keep pressing B, and then you put your name in. And I actually think I actually bought that game, and I think I actually gave up trying to play the game because I couldn't physically get to the point where you actually played golf.
Yeah.
And I just completely lost interest.
Yeah, I mean, Virtua Tennis had a tournament. But again, that's an arcade machine, so it's not like you're saying. There is a time where it turned into a story thing. Story mode in sports stuff, I don't think works very well anyway. Anything that says story mode in a sports thing, I'm going, no.
You know what?
I just want to play the.
Do you think kids like having story modes? Do you think?
In certain stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, they want to get into get into a story narrative game. That's why things like Uncharted and things like that are so successful, because it's like I can go anywhere I want, or seem like I can go anywhere I want, but there's a story where there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and hopefully the end has got several different ends, so I can play this through again and branch off and go everywhere. That's what it seems like the bulk of what everybody wants now. Personally, for me, I was happy back in the day where it was start, middle, and end. There wasn't many branches off, but it was simpler for us, wasn't it? Because I mean, it was like, do you want to play an adventure game? Do you want to play a shoot 'em up? Do you want to play a racing game? Do you want to play a maze game? And variants of. And if you wanted an in-depth game, it would be more story-based.
Do you think part of it is they're just trying to bulk the game out, putting all this extra shit?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought sometimes that the reason that they filled discs up with FMV sequences, back in the day, was to fill up the disc, to make it look like they'd done something.
I mean,
most of the time it was the old game engine from last year with a few bells and whistles added on, and all they've done is just done a load of FMV sequences.
Listen, sorry, we just need a quick shout out. There's a few people joined the stream. Yeah, evening, Tony. How are you, buddy? Who have we got in? Let's have a quick look.
Colin Ferguson.
Matt, you can look at Can you look at? You've got a mouse. I'm using this bloody laptop.
You got Matt Renton, Ian Hunter, Ox, Tony Walker.
Yep, Tony's one of my chums from the old computer club days.
Retro Russ, Vinny the Mackham. Is that right? Vinny the Mackham?
Yeah.
I think that's it. I don't think I've missed anybody.
Well, it's 17 in total anyway, which is nice. At the end of the day, I mean, you know what? I'm doing this purely for selfish reasons. I said if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be sitting playing Quake on the Xbox, or I'd be getting ready to go to my bed. Because I've not coming from a Scotsman. This is quite a thing, mate. I've not been a New Year's person for quite a long time. Pretty much because I've always had responsibilities with kids and that kind of stuff. So I've never actually been able to get out. But I don't know. Okay, I should change the subject because I just get quite depressed about the whole New Year thing.
Yeah, well, I'll come back to that in a minute. But Ian's got a question for you.
Hey Alan, I got the feeling from your waffle that there may be regrets in buying the Xbox Series X. Are you totally happy with it? No, I think not at all, Ian. The only thing, I don't know. Have you watched my waffle, Del? Have you watched that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I've done the podcast for you as well, by the way, so you can listen to it again. I've also uploaded the podcast of the Christmas Eve video that I did with Lone Boys Post, in case anyone's interested. No, I don't regret it at all, Ian. I was wanting to get a new system, and it was going to be a toss-up between either the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox. And the reason I went for the Xbox was, I don't know why I'm having to look at it to speak. It's over there. The fact that you've got this Game Pass, you can basically get to play games. You get to play brand new games for not very much money. I mean, for the first 3 months, it was £1 for the first month, and then you get it for free for the next 2 months. Then I think after that, it goes to, is it $12.99, Dale? $10.99, something like that?
If you do it for both the PC and the Xbox, otherwise it's like $8.99, something like that.
Oh, can you do it? Can you just do it for the console?
Yes.
Oh, can you? Right, okay. So yeah, basically you're getting games for free, and you're getting new games for free, which is great. I know that I think they do decide after a certain length of time, right? Fuck it, we're going to get rid of this game. They'll take games down. So, but no, I'm enjoying it. But the only thing, and I think I mentioned that in my Friday waffle, when I was up at a game on whatever day it was, I thought, fuck it, I'll treat myself to an Xbox game. I'll see what they've got. and I couldn't. You've got the PlayStation 4 section, Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox One. I'm like, where the fuck's the Xbox X series thing?
Yeah.
And I said to the guy, he says, where's the Xbox X games? He went, oh, they're Xbox One games, but it will say at the top, Xbox Series X and Series S. So does that just mean that you're just getting does that mean that you're getting a slightly enhanced version of the game or something rather than
that was the impression I got, and that was the reason why when the game console came out at the very, very beginning, they were saying, well, the PS5 has actually got some titles that are not on the old PS4. They are actually legitimate just for the PS5.
Yeah.
And the Xbox seems to be, these games have been enhanced slightly. You download a like a 10 gig patch or whatever it is, and you can now play it in 120 frames a second with a 4K gloss over the top, etc., etc. And my idea to that was, well, that's fine if you've never played the games, but when is it that the Xbox will have something that is both Xbox 5, is Xbox X and Xbox One, but they're two different versions. You know, you load it up and one will be the Xbox One version and one will be the Xbox X version. Forza Horizon 5 was supposed to be that game, but I've looked at many videos on YouTube where they've put the two together, and I've gone, do you know what? Apart from a few bells and whistles and gloss and reflections in the bonnet, I don't see too much of a difference. And I should think that would make me disappointed. That would make me disappointed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I mentioned that in my waffle. I don't kind of feel that I've got a console that's like next gen. Whereas at least the PlayStation 5, you do get specific PlayStation 5 games. The downside to that is you need to have big pockets, deep pockets to buy them.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the Xbox X now needs a title where it is just for the Xbox X, and then you can say, I've got a game that makes this console its own. It's not, it's not trying to be an Xbox One. It's not trying to be an Xbox 360. This is now an Xbox X. You can only get it on the Xbox X. It was designed just for the Xbox X. Now it's a console with a brand and a name. And on the PS5, you do get that. They do enhance all the old ones. You can play PS4 stuff and it's enhanced and it's a free patch and all of the stuff. They're doing exactly the same thing, but they've brought out titles that have been designed just totally for that console. So as far as I'm concerned, it's got the moniker 5 and it has its place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know?
So see the Xbox, because there's even what's it called, Black, which was I think it was one of the last, if not the last, commercial Xbox game.
Right.
Was it Criterion? I can't remember who made it. I think it might be Criterion.
That's on the original. That's on the just the Xbox from
the original,
from 2002 or
the original Xbox. And there's a lot of Xbox 360 games on Game Pass. Are these games like upscaled, or do they look better, or are they just basically running it as it would be on a 360? You know.
Sorry, I got distracted because Ox has just said, "Oi, Close Encounters on Dell. Gremlins has finished." All right. I've got to keep everybody happy. So
yeah. Oh well, we've had a bit of Death Wish. We've had 10 minutes of Gremlins. Right, Ox is asking, well, the Xbox X, how compatible is it? From what I gather, and you might be able to clarify that. In fact, I know Tony has said a lot of it will run. I've tried a couple of games, 360 discs, and it's just worked. Do you know, Dale, how compatible is, if I was to stick a random Xbox game into the X, would it run it, do you think?
Not as well as that's the thing. The Xbox is so much better at backward compatibility. The PS5, I think that they wanted it to be again its own thing, and therefore they didn't care if it played a PS2 or a PS1 title or a PS3 for that matter. But they do say, I think it's 90 or 85% PS4 compatible. That will go to 100%.
Oh, you're talking about the PlayStation 5. Sorry, right. Yeah.
And then the PS3, I think it's at this moment it's about 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go further back, it's next to nothing. You know, it's not like the old PS3, which had a PS2 mode. It had it in hardware on the launch console. And
the
then
original fat version, that had the backwards thing. Sorry, it's all kicking off. Ian Hunter's not happy. He's wanting Flight of the Navigator, but anyway.
Flight of the Navigator. Oh, Jesus.
Oh wait, you can't change it. You need to make your bloody mind up. I was just about to start watching Close Encounters.
Flight of the Navigator is a great film. Close Encounters is a bit of a great film, but it's a bit boring to watch. The Flight of the Navigator is a bit better, I would have thought.
Right, Tony's saying there, Series X has to have the game patches for it to work. But
yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Backwards compatibility isn't something that probably 99% of people is even remotely interested in. It's only old fuckers like ourselves.
Right, I've chosen the film now.
Ox is asking for Debbie Does Dallas. I don't know if you've got that.
Yep. Right, I've chosen the film. I don't give a shit. It's Escape from New York.
All right, that's all right. But Snake
Plissken.
Plissken. I'm just thinking, I don't have a clock on this laptop, so I have no idea what the time is. So we might have to stick it onto the New Year's,
Yes, I've got my clock down the bottom. We've got 30 minutes to go. So
we can do some kind of countdown thing.
Yeah.
Huss Otters is saying Mamemeister's Hootin' Nanny.
But you were mentioning about New Year not being absolutely fantastic, and I have to sort of agree. But I always wanted to go to Scotland. You see, I've never had a Hogmany. I've never experienced a Scottish New Year. I always thought that was the thing that you have to do at some point in your life, especially if you're a Scotch drinker, especially if you're a whiskey drinker. You've got to experience going to Scotland, going to one of the capitals, and basically mixing with people and drinking whiskey. And that, to me, was something I wanted to do for years and years and years. I still haven't done it now. So,
yeah, I mean, going back years ago when I was a kid, we used to go to my granny's house at Hogmany, and I mean, I'm talking, early 70s, mid 70s, and the thing is, back then, people could not afford to have drink in the house. People weren't drinking every single weekend. Well, maybe I'm talking pish. I don't think so. I know certainly my mum and dad, I mean, they didn't have wine or anything. So I think New Year back in the day was the time where people would open up a bottle of whiskey, whatever. And I remember as a kid, it was the only time of the year where I was allowed to stay up past midnight. And as a sort of a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, that was like magical, getting to stay up to the next day. That was like really weird. But yeah, I remember when it got to like midnight, it's like the Bruins. I don't know if you get the Bruins in England, but it was like that. When it got to midnight, people would be coming to the door, couples, first food, bring a bottle of whiskey and cake and all that. And it was a really, really nice time. Loads of people got together. But I think in the last when I was a teenager growing up, our Hogmany, you would get yourself 12 cans of Tennent's lager into a poly. It's like the Billy Connolly sketch. You would get your lager into 2 bags and you would walk about listening for music. Oh, there's a party, we'll go in there, and you'd knock on the door and somebody would let you in, and that was it. You were in some complete stranger's party. But nobody cared, you were just going and having a good time. But that kind of thing has probably not existed for a long, long time. And I think now New Year is just another bloody night because people can go out and get absolutely rat-arsed any night of the week. You know what I mean? So I don't think
I don't know quite how when it was when they started introducing on New Year's Eve. You've got to buy the ticket the week before, otherwise you can't get in. You can go into the pub up until 10 o'clock, and then it's going to be a ticket only affair. And the people that are coming in before 10 o'clock, they will be asked to leave at 10 o'clock. They can't stay in up till midnight because we've got a ticket only system. Now, I'm pretty sure that happened after the millennium, because that's what tended to happen in my small town. I moved away to Manchester, so my millennium was a bit different in the fact that I was going out with a girl, and we went with her family, and we had fireworks in the back garden, and it was an absolutely memorable time. And I didn't come back to my hometown until 2005. And I did try to go out in the new year, and it was a ticket system. It was like, don't even bother trying to go down New Year's Eve if you haven't got a ticket. You can't get in. And I'm going, all right. So I don't know quite when that ticket-based system came in, but I remember, because in the old days when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, going to New Year's Eve was meeting in the pubs. Let's see if we could do a pub crawl, and then at 12 o'clock, you just got to find one girl who's totally pissed, and you got to try and snog her on midnight, right? And hopefully, maybe you'll go home with her. You don't know, and that to me was the 80s and 90s.
That sounds like the perfect year to me. If you have to leave, what the hell? And I'm not going any deeper, but anyway.
No, but that was pub crawls, and it was like, oh.
See the thing. I mean, in Edinburgh's been renowned for having their Hogmany party. I don't know when it started. It's probably been going long with, I don't know, it's probably been going 30 years. I can categorically say, and it's because the relationships that I've been in, there's always been kids, and I've never been in a position to get a babysitter. So for the last 30 years, I have quite simply never gone out for New Year. I always thought to myself, "Oh, I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that." The problem you've got, excuse me, if you did go to one of these New Year party things, you've got to get a ticket. Secondly, you're absolutely fucked if you want to try and get home. Don't forget getting a taxi.
Yeah. Taxis.
You're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. I mean, the only way you would really need to either have booked a hotel, which is going to cost you a small fortune, or else have somebody local that you could stay with.
Yeah, they used to double the price of the fare on a taxi if you did manage to get one. It was like when it gets to 12 o'clock, instead of it being £1 every mile or something, you'd find that the clock goes twice, or it was £2 and then it was £3, £4, and you hadn't even got to the first traffic lights when I was getting into them, and I was going, oh, he's on a great screw, he is. You know what I mean? It was like getting home used to be £5 and now it's 15 quid. You know what I mean? It's like that's the entry of a nightclub now. 15 quid. So that they were definitely raking it in on that day, and I feel sorry for them with this COVID, because it's like with especially at your side, because you're totally locked down, aren't you? I mean, it really is.
Well, they're telling us we shouldn't really be leaving the house, and we shouldn't be traveling anywhere. So yeah.
I mean, here it's slightly different, but I do believe there are events going on in the pubs in town. But I just because the taxi drivers are self-employed, I don't think they're getting much help from the government. So I think that they're really struggling. Some sole proprietors and are really having a hard time at the moment, because they just don't fit into the government scheme of things in regards to help. So
yeah. Anyway, right. What's from a gaming perspective? Do you think 2021 was a good year for gaming? Was it a bad year? What do you think?
I watched a couple of YouTube videos today, and the consensus was 2021 was worse than 2020 by a considerable mile.
Why was that be? Was that be because of the complete lack of being able to buy the hardware, do you think?
I think it's this AAA titles that don't that have got people writing games that just don't know how to write games. They're not turning out to be anything like what they're supposed to be. I mean, I can't go into too much depth because I haven't been playing AAA titles, if you see what I mean. But this guy that I usually watch, I only watch him at the end of the year. I think it's called Worth a Buy, something like that. And basically, he just turns around and says, "This is woke crap. This was a terrible game." And it was like things like Tropico 6. He said that was awful. There was a Dungeons and Dragons game, and he said, "Look, this is how bad it is. I walk towards this alcove and they all see me. I step back 6 foot and they start walking away from me. Well, then all I have to do is just shoot them in the back and keep walking back and forward, shooting them. And this is supposed to be a 60 quid game." He said it's ridiculous. Yeah, but there you go. Battle. He did mention that one, Battlefield 2042. It's a broken mess. And I've seen shots of the Marines coming out of the helicopters, and they're bent down when the helicopters have gone away, and they're just frozen, looking like they're crippled. There's all sorts of stuff that's shit this year, apparently.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I'm the wrong person to ask in regards to what was great and what was really bad. But the consensus was it was mostly bad, and it was worse than 2020.
Yeah. Paul's saying here we've got Sonic the Hedgehog for the C64. It sounds like a good year to me. Have you tried it yourself? Have you tried it, Dale?
Yeah. I played that because you were mentioning, you had a few little configuration hikes, and I knew that you could play that on actual Commodore 64 hardware because I knew that there was a RAM expansion, but it came out late 80s. So you can play it on original Commodore 64.
I've played it. Yeah, I've got the Ultimate 2 cartridge, and I think there's an option that gives you more memory or something. I don't fucking know. All I know is I managed to get it working.
So even back in the day, you'd have been able to have played it because there was an actual expansion. It was not on the market for very long, but it was there. Now, I loaded it up and I thought, yeah, this is great. And I was in the same boat where I was going, I'm glad they did it because it shows that a game that you think the 64 wouldn't have a chance on doing can be done. And I didn't get the question that somebody put that said, why do this? It's an old game anyway, and just because it's on the C64, why do I care? And my answer to that is just like Panther said, because we can. You shouldn't stop trying to do something on an older system. In fact, I'd like to see how they made it work. I mean, that was why I liked Ghosts and Goblins back in the day. It was like, how do you get the arcade cabinet into a Commodore 64? And if they did it actually right, you were going, well done. Anyhow, that's great. And I love that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I mean, Ox is saying that he can't stand Sonic. Good conversion, but wank console kind of game. I'm completely with Ox. I don't like Sonic. I just find it a utterly boring game. But it's nice. It's impressive to see. When you think again, you've got to have been there back in the day. I remember I had my Commodore Amiga, and I remember seeing a preview. I think it was in Mean Machines of this new game that has just come out for the Mega Drive called Sonic the Hedgehog. And then I went into I can't remember where it was. I went into some video game shop, and they had it, and it was running, and I'm just like, fucking hell, this is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. Here we are. We've got a version running on the C64, which leads me to my point. There's a consensus of people that say that's not a C64. That's not a running on a C64. The hint is in the name of the computer, Commodore 64K. It doesn't run in that, therefore it's not a C64.
Oh, no.
What's your opinion of that? Is it a C64? Is it not a C64?
It's running on a C64 with a piece of hardware that you could buy back in the day. Makes no difference. So, of course, yes, that is a Commodore.
Could you buy that back in the day? Could you?
Yes, you could buy that back in the day. That's what I was saying. there was a hardware expansion that went in the back, just like the VIC-20. It came with 3.5K. Are they saying then, because I've put a 20K RAM expansion in the back of it, this can't be a VIC-20 game then because it's not playing on unexpanded RAM? That's looking at things totally wrong. I would say yes if there was no such RAM expansion, but there was a RAM expansion. That's the whole point.
Thing is though, people get so hung up on, is it not, whatever. Yeah, okay, it will not run on a bog standard C64,
No.
but you give it this little tweak and it runs. So of course it's fucking running on a Commodore 64. It's running a Commodore 64 with an extra bit of memory. But who cares? Who cares what people argue? At the end of the day, it's still a work of genius. Like Ops, I think it's crap. I don't like the game at all. But it's still impressive. I mean, even the bit at the very start, Sega, that's perfect. It is absolutely. I mean, they've obviously used some sort of I don't know, digitizing or something. But that's mental.
Well, I'm like you. I don't like Sonic. I'll give you I mean, it's one of those games where, when it comes to platform games, I know I'm in my element if it's a certain speed, and I found Sonic uncontrollable at certain points of the game. I'm more a precision platform type person, the more the Mario type of person, where I'm going at a certain speed, I can control this. The accuracy is the thing that I'm looking for. There doesn't seem to be any accuracy in Sonic. It was go as fast as possible, and hopefully you hit the ramp at that speed. And that's shown by that horrible game Bubsy. Do you remember they brought out this game Bubsy in Third World or something, right? And he was a bobcat, and that was just uncontrollable mess. And that's when I knew that Sonic was just getting too much for me. I didn't come back to Sonic until the Dreamcast, to be quite honest.
It went kind of 3D. Yeah, I think back then, I mean, Mario was more like, it was more strategical. You had to time your jumps.
Yeah.
Sonic was all about, I mean, you had things like Games Master, and it was just like, let's see who can complete the game in the shortest period of time. I mean, I'm crap at the game, but I can complete level 1 in about 30 seconds. It's not fun in the slightest. But apparently, you don't have to run 100 miles an hour in the game. You can take your time and jump, whatever. But nah, it's not a game that I'm a fan of, but I still do think it's...
I played Altered Beast more than I played Sonic the Hedgehog when I had a Mega Drive. So if that says anything.
Good evening, Kev, down the rabbit hole. Streaming time for New Year's midnight in the UK, Alan. Good stuff.
Yeah, we're 14 minutes away.
Is it? All right, you better keep your eye on the clock anyway. Also saying Sonic was released as eye candy by Sega to promote their new mascot against Nintendo's Mario.
Yeah, they'd actually written the character months before. They actually went back to the drawing board and turned him blue, and then put him into a game. He just turned into a mascot. It was by accident, and it was done by Sega of America, if I remember rightly. It was the Japanese that had written this character, but they drew him slightly different. They gave it to the Americans, and they added some big trainers, put some sort of like fur on the back, and suddenly he was Sonic, and that's where that came from.
They kind of westernized it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, Sonic is kind of everything that I hate about video games. You know, I don't want to play a character that looks cool, because cool doesn't come into my vocabulary. Yes. I understand I'm a lot older than your average gamer, but where do you think? I mean, retro gaming. I hate that phrase. You know, we don't talk about retro films, but you know, retro gaming, talking about the old systems, 16-bit, 8-bit. It's obviously it's undergone a massive resurgence in the last probably 10 years. Do you think that is going to continue, Dale, or do you think we're going to get to a kind of peak? It's going to reach a peak, and then
it will slow down and plateau, and then unless something really exciting occurs, it will have either another resurgence, or it will plateau and die. There is only two outcomes to it, really. And the things that are keeping it going, some people can reference it by saying it's when those little mini consoles came out that suddenly the kids wanted to play the older games, even if they still had the original hardware. Their dad still had the original hardware. They weren't interested on the original hardware. So suddenly someone came out with a mini console, and suddenly everybody wanted to buy one. It was like, oh, I can put that on the shelf and have it as a pencil top or whatever it is, and suddenly I've got myself an emulation device that takes me back in the day. But I don't know. If you were to ask me where the word retro comes from and what my era is considered to be, that I'll go back to and say that is still retro. We've had that discussion before, and I told you that
what is retro? Yeah.
And I was never really a console man, and I went from an Amiga to a PC, and I've still got a PC, and there isn't anything in between. So, it's almost like, the late mid 95, I suppose, or something like that is a cutoff point for me. But I could never really finger point it. And as we move forward, people will turn around and say, well, as far as I'm concerned, the PlayStation 1 is now retro. And I can't argue the point. It is a 20+ year old system, and 3D was in its infancy, and you can certainly see it on that console, especially when you see what the consoles were before that. So you can turn around and say that's legitimate, but to me, I was never in love with the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2. I played the games on them and I was wowed by them and so forth, but I don't have any heartfelt strings pulled that it was taken away from me and all of this sort of stuff, because I bought all my computers and I bought, so I don't know. I was just never a console-y.
It's funny how I got I got the PlayStation when it first came out. I got it with Destruction Derby, and I played it a lot, not as much as most people, but I certainly played it a fair bit. I could not actually. It must be about, I don't know. It's probably been about 5-6 years since I last had the PlayStation actually plugged in.
Yeah,
I've got absolutely zero interest in playing PlayStation games. The only game I do play, and I tend to play it on an emulator, if I want to test how powerful a handheld is, I'll fire up the PlayStation and I'll play Ridge Racer. That's the only PlayStation game that I'll ever play. I've just got no interest. I've got no nostalgia whatsoever.
Yeah.
You go back, pardon me, you go back and play the original Resident Evil. It's fucking awful.
Yeah,
it really is. It's fucking awful.
You go down and you come up at the top and all sorts of stuff. It was all flip screen, wasn't it?
It's not aged at all. It's not aged well at all. It really hasn't. But the only games that early were they 32-bit? I think they were.
Yeah, they were 32-bit.
The only games that I will ever play is I've got my. I never owned a Sega Saturn back in the day, but I've got a Sega Saturn plugged into my TV, and I'll fire that up just for stuff like Radiant Silvergun and whatever.
Yeah, shoot 'em ups, some shoot 'em ups, and obviously a couple probably that you're not even thinking of right now. I'm pretty sure there'll probably be a title that you'll go, oh yeah, and of course that. You know what I mean? But I do know that you're a big shoot 'em up fan, and I do know that the Saturn had some really top shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
The first time I saw the Saturn, I think I played Daytona. I think that was the first game I ever saw.
I think the first version of that was rushed, apparently.
Yeah.
It was a bit pish. And then they brought out a kind of rehash of it, or was it Daytona 97 or something? Or no, I'm getting muddled up between the Wipeout 2097.
Well, Wipeout. Everybody knows the story of Wipeout for the PlayStation 1, but it's just that the Sega Saturn I didn't have. It was an American friend that had it. He'd got it on the BX Center near where I was, and Daytona was the first thing that he got, and he brought it round and he said, let's see how fast we can go around the first track, and if I can beat you, then of course you've got to buy me a pint when we go, or something like that. And I was just going, now I've just played Ridge Racer at the fair in just left, so I'm pretty sure I can probably beat him at this. And I was just going, this is actually pretty darn close. I actually did think it was a good conversion, but then I was totally let down when I was told, no, that was a shit conversion. So my memory of it is different, because I was wowed by it when I first saw it and played it. But then again, I was playing head to head against someone. I probably wasn't taking note of clipping and crap that was going on, because all I wanted to do was beat him and get a pint.
It was even like, yeah, it was even like, I was buying all these games for the PlayStation, and people would go on about, I was playing Tekken and Wipeout and Ridge Racer, and people were all going on about, oh, it's not a pack, you're losing half the screen, and it's slower than the NTSC one and all that. And that never even bothered me until I got the thing chipped, and then you're able to play the NTSC ones, and you realise that you're almost like, the games were running quicker and you were getting full screen as opposed to the kind of shrunk screens. But that was something that never really bothered me. I was going to say as a kid back in the time.
Well, apparently that was the selling point. I think is it called the Polymega? The selling point of the Polymega was that it was going to run Saturn stuff 100% accuracy. It was going to be one of those FPGA, like the Mister inside it, and you can actually put Saturn discs in. It had a disk drive in it, and you bought modular based stuff so that you could turn it into a Mega Drive by sliding this port in and then sliding in a SNES one. And I believe that everybody was really looking forward to this Polymega because the Saturn was going to be 100% accurate. And then they changed the design totally. Now it's an emulation device, a bit like a Retron. It's no different than a Retron, only it does have a disk drive in it. But apparently it's like 300 quid or 400 quid, and I don't know if it's bombed, but it's not doing well. And so we'll see. When you get your Mister, you'll have to tell me what the Saturn's like on it.
I will indeed. I don't know when I'm going to get that. I know that kind of thing. How are we doing for time, by the way?
Yeah, we got 4 minutes, so I'm going to put BBC One on now.
I'm going to go and grab another can of cider. I'll be back in 2 ticks. In the meantime, I'll just give you a shot of my dog sleeping. There you go. There's Archie. There's the Archie cam.
Right. So BBC should show the fireworks, and they've got the clock in the bottom corner. So, and if you hear any bangs, the fireworks are already going off in my back garden from the street. And I've got to get myself a drink as well. So just bear with me, fellas. All right.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you're fucking off now. Right, Archie. What is it, son? Anyway, yeah, how are we? Let's have a quick look. Ian is asking, does anyone remember is it Ouya? Ouya, I think it is. That was a handheld. Was it an emulation thing? I can't actually remember. Yeah, it wasn't one that did particularly well. Have you heard of the Ouya, Del?
Yes.
Have you heard of the Ouya?
The Ouya? Yeah. Why have I heard of the Ouya?
Yeah, it was some sort of retro console.
I must admit, I've heard of the Ouya. I just don't know why. Maybe that's me thinking War of the Worlds and Ouya, where it was it's supposed to be Oola. But I don't know. I don't know why Ouya comes to mind. I'm not sure.
Right. Evening, Scott. How are you, buddy? Hang on, I can hear fireworks going off already.
Yeah, they're going off in the gardens around my area. But there is 2 minutes to go, and that clock is Jules Holland's Hogmany. Look, there's a clock in the corner there, so they should cut to Big Ben at 12. So
I can never actually see when they say they do the countdown and then they cut to Big Ben.
Yeah.
What point is it New Year? Is it after it's done the 12 chimes or something? Is it?
I believe so.
Was it
Do you remember Brewster's Millions? Well, he said you've got to spend all those. You've got to spend 30 millions and then at 12 o'clock, he said when that chimes 12, if you haven't got this receipt in, you've lost that 300 million. And he's there going, can I hire you as a lawyer and blah 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 blah, and he gets it just in time. So that's 12 chimes. So I take it it's the 12th chime.
Ah, right, okay.
I must admit, I've never really thought about it. Oh, Brewster's Millions. I haven't thought about that film in ages.
Right, let's have a quick look. Is that?
We are a minute away.
No, right, I suppose we better ready ourselves. I don't know what we're actually waiting for, eh?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll just be going, yay, Happy New Year to everybody, yay, like this.
No,
I've just done it early then. Vinny says, right, I'm away on a shooting spree. No one will notice. Vinny the Mackham.
Jesus. Right. They've obviously got the clock's obviously wrong in Scotland because the fireworks are going off big style here at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, they were going off just now. Right, he's looking at his watch now, old Jules Holland.
Oh, hang on, is he counting down or something, is he?
Yeah. 5,
a bit of buffering
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Right, where's Big Ben?
There we go.
You bastard. Where's Big Ben then?
Happy New Year, everybody.
He's got Scottish bastards out now. Hang on, I ain't having any of that. I ain't having any of that. Hang on, Scottish pipers, first stuff that. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yep, Happy New Year, everybody. Here's to what hopefully is going to be a better year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, we've been saying that for a couple of years, but fuck me, can't be worse.
There's the chimes.
There we go. Thanks, Matt. Yep, Happy New Year to everybody, and thanks for all the support you've given me over the last 12 months.
Right, the fireworks and everything are off now.
Is that in London? I take it, yeah.
Yeah. What's he doing? I want to see the fireworks. Get off, you miserable.
Anyway, right, enough of that bollocks. Right, we're now we can go back to 2021. Fuck off and don't ever come back.
Yeah, I can't say I am not going to look back fondly at this year. I have to turn around and say.
Let's move on. So the C64. We're talking about. I was asking how long do you think the retro bubble will continue to be a thing? I mean, I don't know if you buy any of the Zap magazines. I've got all the annuals down there, and what is apparent is there are so many. Evening, Castardo, how are you, buddy? Hope you're well, mate. There are so many new games coming out for these systems, which is awesome. Who do you think these games appeal to? Do you think there's people at like 20 years old that are into these? Do you think it's people like us that had them back in the day?
I think that's the thing that I'm so happy about, actually, really, with the well, let's just stick with the Commodore 64 system for a moment. It starts off as your dad, getting the games, they're still getting games on this. Oh, this is actually, they didn't write them like this and all that sort of stuff. And then the kids are playing them. And then with emulation, you're able to do it without buying any mini console or anything like that. And it's pushing the 64 now to a point where, wow, you can actually still get the enjoyment and feel the enjoyment that you got in the 80s on the system now in the millenniums, right? That's how I look at that. If you were to do this on this new Amiga version, I don't think it's going to be quite as successful, and there's a number of reasons that I say that. The Amiga was a quantum leap and a jump, but there isn't that much of a jump if you were to look at it now. If you were to load up Barbarian now, you'd go, yeah, well, my PC can do that now. And there is, I think the base, the game base is not quite there either. I can mention titles on the 64, just stream them off, and on the Amiga I can name, some very good ones, but nowhere near what my nostalgia value was of the C64. Do you know what I mean? I can rattle them off like nobody's business. And I love the Amiga, don't get me wrong. Right. So from my perspective, the C64 works, and the Amiga one, I hope it will work, because I want the bigger version of it. I don't want the mini version. I want the maxi. We don't like that word maxi. I want the full scale version of it. Is what I'm trying to say, right?
So is the initial Amiga? Come on, Jack, should we get son? Come on, up, jump. Bear with me, just got some dog issues. Come on, Jack, up. Hurry up. For Christ's sake. Just like you see them, there you go. Ah, you made a bloody meal of that, didn't you? What was that?
Happy New Year, Retro.
There you go. There's the boys.
Retro Hawk and Craig as well. Craig Flanagan.
Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? Hope you're well. Are you drunk? I've only had that's my first bit of alcohol. This I was going to say this Christmas. It has been actually.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw that question back at you though, Alan, because you've just got rid of your Spectrum Next.
Yeah.
So taking the same question back to you, what do you think appeals, and where we are with retro now with these newer editions of trying to re-enlight something that we did years ago?
I think it's all based on nostalgia. The whole thing.
But why are the new people then playing them?
Sorry?
But why are the new people playing them? That's what you asked me. Why are the new people playing on it when there's no nostalgic value for them?
I don't know. Are new people playing them? I'm interested to know. Like the 64 Mini, I've got the big one there, and I've got the two of them sitting underneath the TV. It'd be interesting to know what age group actually bought them. I would imagine primarily it's going to be people our age that actually had it back in the day. We were old enough because we remember these machines when they first came out. Some of the fucking diabolical. You'll have to watch My Arcade Perfect My Arse intro, and you see Crazy Kong by Ian Gray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's that was the quality of games in the first probably 6 months of that computer coming out. The games were abysmal, and so when you're getting stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's a game I'm not a massive fan of, but it's damned impressive. Sam's Journey, which is a kind of platform game that came out, it's phenomenal. And seeing what people are getting these old bits of hardware to do now is phenomenal. As for like the Spectrum Next, is it a Spectrum? Personally, I don't think it is. I'm going to upset a lot of people and say it's an Android box. It's not an Android box. Is it an FPGA? It's an emulation thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's 100% compatible with the Spectrum, which is the reason I had it. But I think people, again, it goes back to the whole nostalgia thing. People remember loading up Mamemeister and Anti-Tax the first time, and getting to play games that look kind of on a par with Amiga games just kind of helps to kind of scratch that whole nostalgic bit. But I would argue that the Spectrum Next is really, if you take away the little coloured rainbow bit on the keyboard, it's not a Spectrum. Yeah, it's 100% compatible.
But I think Alan, that though, from my perspective, and I'm not a big Spectrum follower compared to my Commodore days, is that they marketed it correctly. I think they turned around and said, this is what we think would be the next Spectrum if Sir Clive Sinclair had continued the development of the Spectrum. So they didn't say this is what the next Spectrum would be. They're saying what it could have been if it had continued the development of it. So they didn't try to go overboard by putting thousands of hertz processor at it and all this memory. They sort of said, if we were to add 5 years to this device, he would have sorted out a graphic chip. He would have sorted out a better sound chip. He'd have sorted out this, that, and the other. He'd have increased the clock speed. He'd have done this, that, and the other. So from my point of view, it is not a Spectrum. It is not a Sinclair product. So Clive Sinclair had no dealings with it. So its inheritance is on shaky grounds. It would be that sixth cousin,
Again, people argue, is it a Spectrum, is it not a Spectrum? Who gives a shit? People enjoy it. That's important.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? It can play all the old stuff, and it'll do this new thing that they're trying to flog.
I mean, the Spectrum Next is a beautiful thing. If it wasn't worth quite so much money, I'd have probably hung on to it because it's a lovely thing. But based on how much I was able to sell it for, and the fact that I had never used it in 2 years, it was a bit of a pointless thing, me having it. But no, it's a lovely machine. I mean, somebody's mentioning the Alan M. Good evening, Alan. The Mega 65 is way overpriced. Yeah, apparently, I think Panther said, is it not going to be something like £400, £500 or something? It's going to be more than like.
No, that was the price he was hoping it was going to be, and it turned out to be more than that.
You're joking? So it's going to be more than £500?
I think it ended up being 599 or 699 or something like that.
You know, it's going to be so far removed from a Commodore 64, so it's not a Commodore 64.
Well, the reason that they said that there is a value in this machine is that it was a machine that was actually got to prototype. So it was a machine. You could have actually have turned this machine on in the past, and it would have come up with the rainbow colors at the top with it saying Commodore. And so basically the C65 was a machine, so it actually has inherent value to it, but I don't think it's enough because it never actually went into production. Just because there was a prototype doesn't, Commodore unfortunately went down the pan. So as far as I'm concerned, well, they lost the scope of it. So it's nice to have it out there, but you can't turn around and say it's 100% Commodore because they've had to fill in the blanks. It would have changed. It still would have changed in some way before it went into production. There was something about it that they didn't like. Even if they changed where the floppy position of the drive was going to be, or they were going to change the basic on it, to version 8 instead of version 7, there would have been some change that this machine can't ever speculate on because it never got that far. So you see what I mean? So it's a little bit more closer than a Spectrum Next. Because there are actual models of this machine out there. There is a C65 out there. You can actually turn it on. So that makes it a genuine machine.
Yeah, so this Amiga, so I'm just catching up. Happy New Year, Alan. GTB Films, Dryer Lint 17, C64, can't even speak properly, Maniac Mansion. Bloody hell, that was a mouthful. Was awesome back when I was a kid. Huss Otters is saying Happy New Year. Dryer Lint 17. I was the first online in my town with Q-Link in the 80s. Quantum Link became America Online, which you guys probably know. Bloody hell. Yeah,
ZX I was going to say ZX Renew's has got a point, but only to a certain point. He says that it was created by the same designer, but the Spectrum wasn't one designer. Wasn't made by one person. And it says the C65 was not designed by anybody from Commodore, which is quite true as well. You can't go wrong with those, with the speculation on those. But as far as I'm concerned, Sir Clive Sinclair endorsed a machine, and he had a team of people around him, and it wasn't one person. So one designer from it. Okay, yeah, all right.
Just a quick hello to Trev. Evening, Trev. How are you? Happy New Year. Too pissed to stay longer than 1 minute. Ta-ta. What was the Trev?
Don't make me spit.
He's off to be in the toilet.
He weren't too pissed to be still online and type something. What's all that about?
Well, yeah, thanks very much to everybody that's tuned in tonight. You know, it's a time where you should be spending time with family. So, you know, the fact that 27 people have tuned in tonight is really, really nice. Thank you so much.
Now, did you say that you're going to your girlfriend's tomorrow and having a roast dinner, or is that off now?
No, that's off because, she's got COVID.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, I'm going to be spending the next 4 days basically sitting on my Todd. like lots of people, you know what I mean? Yeah, I've done three lateral flow tests and they've all been negative. I noticed one of the lateral flow tests, I've got two boxes of them, but I've got more than 2 boxes. One of them, sorry, I know we're going back to COVID for a second, but one of them you just put up your nose and you put it in the thing and you leave it for a minute. The other one is up your nose and you touch your tonsils. So it's like the one PCR. I've done 3 of them today and they've all come back negative. I managed to get a PCR done this afternoon as well, so hopefully I'll find out. But yeah,
Ox is demanding things of me. You keep going on. You keep going on.
No. Listen, I've talked enough about the Spectrum X. So this Amiga, what is it just going to be? Is it just going to be basically one of these little mini systems that runs games, and it's going to be, there's not going to be any mouse or anything? Is it just going to be a no keyboard, no mouse?
That's the thing. This one's slightly different. It is a mini. It has no keyboard, but it comes with a mouse and a controller.
Sorry, say it again. I was looking at Oxy's comment there. Sorry, say it again. It's going to have what?
It is a mini, and from a mini's perspective, it means it's got no keyboard, but it does come with a mouse and it does come with a controller. So it does have a mouse and it does have a controller.
So it's designed for playing games. You're not going to.
Yeah, it's very much like the C64 Mini, but just like the C64 Mini was a Kickstarter to try and get money to make a larger version, that's what they're trying to do with this Amiga version. And from that point of view, I think it will fail, because I don't think anybody will buy enough units of that to make the larger version. But I'd like it to, because I'd like the larger version. I think the C64, and we hate that word maxi, but that's what it is. You know, the large C64 version works very well because, and the reason I like it is it's got a proper Commodore keyboard. It's got a Commodore key where I want it to be. The thing about the Mister, which I will get a Mister, and I've told you I'm a fan of it. It's just it's not the right time for me. Is that you've still got to buy a ton of different keyboards, because the keyboard layouts are all different on all these machines. You'll put as many cores in as you want. But you're still going to plug in a Bluetooth or a USB PC keyboard, and there ain't going to be a Commodore key in sight. So you're still going to have to configure it, aren't you? The reason that the Commodore Maxi works is it's a proper Commodore Travelator keyboard, isn't it? In the right places, with the function keys in the right places. That's why that works. You know, so
something I've always thought would be an interesting idea. There probably wouldn't be a demand for it. Maybe for a couple of systems would be if a company were to release Bluetooth keyboards based on all the systems. So you got a C60, because you know you've watched my live streams, and you're trying to look for, or maybe not so much for the Commodore 64, because most of the C64 keys they're faithful to your PC, so shift is shift and all that kind of stuff. Obviously run stop is escape, whatever. But you go into like a BBC and it's asking you to press the forward, the backslash button. You're like that, you're going dum 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 dum, and you're pressing every fucking key and you can't get it. I wonder how difficult it would be if they brought out a USB BBC keyboard with it. If they were able to bring these out and they were maybe 10, 15 quid.
Well, if you remember rightly, there was a thought that the Pi 4 was, the 4000 that you've got was going to come out with an Amiga version, a proper Amiga keyboard version of it, and there was going to be a proper version of an Archimedes, and there was going to be a proper version of an ST, and you could buy these cases because, really, to be quite honest, the keyboard is, can be altered to how you want it to be. I said to you, the Mister will work really well if somebody comes up with the idea of doing 3D printing of any keyboard. Maybe you could put the blueprints out to the internet, and anybody who's got 3D printers can make a keyboard for themselves that is just for the Spectrum and for the Amstrad and for the Commodore 64, and that you buy the blueprint and get somebody to print it out for you, maybe at a printers or whatever. That's a business that might work in the future if retro continues. But to me, that's the letdown of the Mister is that you do have to configure it an awful lot, which I don't have a problem with. But the keyboards are always going to be just the standard PC keyboard, and you're going to have to faff about with.
That's always
But it's
that's always a thing.
Yeah, it's so minor. It's not really even worth pointing it out, really, because like I said, I'll get a Mister, but my problem with the Mister was purely on the basis of it's now several years old, and I keep thinking there's going to be a newer revision of it. They're now starting to try and emulate PCs on it. They're trying to make Quake work on a 4 and try and emulate a 486 and all of this sort of stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, you have to have a full stop where you say emulation stops here. It was never designed to do that. It's supposed to be, it was designed to be something totally different. It was supposed to be a teaching aid, to be quite honest, but it's turned into this emulation beast. But you have to at some point say there is a cutoff point and we're not going to go any further, because as far as I'm concerned, you're just going to be disappointed, because as soon as they bring out a newer model, then the old model becomes redundant. And you know what happened with the Pi 2 and the Pi 3 and the Pi 4 is that the Pi 2 became dead. Nobody uses that anymore. They swapped it for a Pi 3 and they swapped it for a Pi 4. That's because nobody wants to be left behind. So
I think before you buy any of these things, you've got to say, right, this is what it can do. Am I happy with that? I mean, for me personally, if it can emulate the majority of old computers, I'll be quite happy. You know what I mean? Definitely. Sorry, just Ian Hunter's away to bed. Good night, Ian. Take care, buddy. He's probably gone by now.
Now Stealth Banana says, Dalboy, it shows you have never used a Mister, have you? Question mark should be at the end. I have actually been on a Mister before. I do know what I'm talking about, and I have watched an awful lot of Mister updates that come out every month. I am a big fan of it. All I'm just saying is that the Mister is not for everybody at certain stages of their life. For me, it's not for me because I'm too busy working out what my job is at the moment. You know, I would be, if I was to put all of my investment and thoughts into this Mister, I would be taking the eye off my ball of me learning my new job at the moment. And it would be the wrong thing to do. That means that I don't hate the Mister at all. In fact, I think the Mister is the future. I'm just saying it's not for me at the moment. And I don't think anybody can turn around to me and say there isn't going to be a newer version of it. Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, I think in 2 years' time, we might be having this discussion again and said, I told you there'd be a revision B. Bang. There you go. It came out. You know what I mean? So,
it's a bit like me buying that bloody Xbox X. I mean, I paid the normal price for it. You know, there's still hard to get. It's a bit of a kind of bitter pill if you were paying more for a system. I mean, I bought that and it's brand new to me, but it's a year old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law for years and years and years and years I'm talking sort of early 90s when I had my first PC. Excuse me. I kept saying to him, when are you going to get a computer? Oh, I'm going to hang off because they're going to get more powerful. They're going to get more powerful, and the price is going to come down. I says, but when are you going to buy one? No, I'm just going to wait a year because they're going to get more powerful and the price is going to come down. And it was about 10 years later he eventually got one. At the end of the day, yeah, you know, whatever you buy, if it does what you want it to do,
yeah,
and enjoy it. So, anyway, listen, we'll move on from the Mr. debate. We don't want that to turn into a
no, because
you know,
we both agree that we're getting quite excited that we think that both of us this year will have one, and I've got no doubts that I will.
I'm looking forward.
So there we are.
I'm looking forward to getting one.
So that's my. I love emulation all the way, and I love retro all the way. I'm bound sure to get one. You know, it's just a win with me.
It's absolutely the way forwards. I mean, you know, I've made no bones out of that. I'm or no secret that I am in the process of kind of selling stuff. I'm not going mad. I don't really need the money as such, but I want to kind of sell well. There's still a lot of interest in kind of in old hardware, and I will quite happily, you know, if 10 years down the line, I'm just running emulation and a Mister or whatever, I'll be quite happy with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can't weld or solder to save myself. So, you know, I know that I'm going to get to a stage, as I have already. I mean, I can't remember what it was. There was a system that I bought. There was a system that I went to use a few months ago. Switched it on, and dead as a dodo, and yet it worked. It was working. It worked the last time I tried it. You know what I mean? And that's just going to get more thing. Anyway, right, back in games. I think it's fair to say it's first person shooters.
Did you see what Colin said? Enough of this waffle. Let's talk about Mr. Ben.
And suddenly the shopkeeper appeared. Bonus point. What was the name of the street that you lived on?
Oh, you mentioned it the last time we were talking about it. Something Fosworth Street or something. Oh,
Festa Road.
Festa Road, yeah.
But
I told you about that though, didn't I? Where I turned around and said there was only about 13 episodes that were ever made. They just repeated them. They just repeat them over and over again, and everyone seemed like it was a different. It seemed like there was more of them when I was a kid, but apparently there was only about 13.
Apparently, Bagpuss, there was only something like 10 episodes, or maybe even less.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was less than what you think. I swear that I still don't know the number of how many episodes there were of the Clangers and all that sort of stuff. Bagpuss I know is in the singular figures, you know, but it seemed like there was 20. When you're a kid, it seemed like, you know, that stupid bloody mouse organ and Professor Yaffle and bloody that Magdoll and the frog and they told the stories and everything and from that pipe organ type thing.
Sorry, somebody's saying here, has Alan's stream changed to Flickbook? What are they talking about?
Your voice is broken up, but to me your pictures is still the same. So I'm not quite sure because I'm not looking at the live stream on YouTube.
What I noticed at the top of the live stream, you've got it tells you the clock and then it tells you the number of viewers. But sometimes you get the little, the little Wi-Fi, the little universal Wi-Fi signal. It appears, and for some weird reason, it's appeared. I don't know why.
Maybe you've dropped network and you've gone to Wi-Fi, and that's why your signal's breaking up.
Well, it's on Wi-Fi anyway.
Ah, okay.
Hey, what will I come out and rejoin? Try that.
I think so. Yeah, I don't mind. I'll stay here. I'll try and keep everybody entertained, but I don't want to upset anybody on New Year's. So, guys, like Alan said, I'm really, really glad, to sort of like have been part of all of this community. I'm not one to offend anybody. I have my point of view, and I think, you know, when it comes to a point of view, that's exactly what it is. I'm no more knowledgeable than anybody else, but I'm glad Alan's back now instead of my
No,
waffle.
it's still doing the same thing. I don't know why.
Well, the picture quality's improved.
Right, say their connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging in your router.
Yeah, so you're having a few Wi-Fi issues.
So how difficult can it be?
Yeah, it depends though on what's going on around you as well. Ox made a valid point earlier on. He says, "Do you remember back in the day when you tried to send a text message after 12 o'clock on a New Year's, and it would take you 5 hours before you'd be able to actually physically get it off?" I have no idea how broadband is at the moment with everybody trying to communicate with everybody at the moment.
Listen, Bill, I'm going to disconnect my Wi-Fi and come back in again.
Yeah. That's all right. That's that. So Collins said, "Keep it up, Dale. You're a good bloke." Thanks very much. I'm one of these people that what Alan did was he had his 12-hour stream, and that was the first time I ever came on to chat in a sort of like this chat environment. And I was incredibly nervous, and I'm still nervous now, even though I'm just. But it's nice because Alan always turns around and says, "We're just going to talk crap. Doesn't really matter. Just settle back. Don't even think about it." So, oh look, there up he pops, just like that, Mr. Ben person.
All I've done is right. It seems to have disappeared. All I did was turn the Wi-Fi on and off. So
it's got your house neighbours are using his Wi-Fi.
Nah, they probably are, the bastards.
So I was just giving them a recap on how you invited me in the first time with that 12-hour stream.
Was that that wasn't last year? That was the year before, wasn't it?
That was the year before, yeah.
Bloody hell, that's mental, isn't it? That's mental. So anyway, yeah, what was I talking about before my Wi-Fi started playing up? Obviously, Call of Duty as a first-person shooter, that seems to be. I've not got any cold hard facts, but I would imagine that probably about 85% of modern games are first-person shooters. You've got that. You've got FIFA. What else? What other franchises have you got?
Well, there's plenty of franchises. Because I mean, Sony's got Spider-Man, hasn't it? That's called an IP though.
Yeah, really. Yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is there is only really about 3 or 4 types of games at the moment. You've got
genres. Yeah. If you go into Steam now, you'll find that there's about 8, isn't there? They say role-playing, tactical.
How far? I mean, people must be getting bored of playing the same games. That back in the 8-bit era, there was loads of originality. There was tons of different types of games. Now, because games cost, they probably run into hundreds of millions of pounds, I would imagine, for companies are just not willing to take any risk. Do you think we're going to get to a stage where people get bored of video games?
Well, I did think that back in the day, but I don't think so now, because there was still the same amount of genres back in the 80s, and they haven't really increased them that much now, and yet we're still surviving 40 years down the line. So you have to ask yourself, could it go for another 40 years? Possibly. I don't think it's the genre that's the problem. It's what people want out of that genre now, if you see what I mean. And by the way, can you answer Tony's question? Because I know that what your answer is to that question. He wants to know: Have you ordered a Steam Deck?
I paid £5 deposit, so I think that classes as me pre-ordering it. I think it's been pushed back to February or something. Is it?
Yeah, I believe. I thought what I heard about is that they were going to start releasing them, and then they were going to release them in bigger numbers. I was interested in the fact that you could put Windows on it and you could keep it with Steam's own proprietary front end. You could have either. But in the end, I just thought to myself, is it something that I really, really want? And I thought, no. In the end, I decided not to put the deposit down, because when it actually comes around to it being released, I'd probably find I didn't have enough money anyway. But the second reason for it was I didn't think it was enough of what it is to make me want it. It will be a fantastic machine, don't get me wrong. I think it's got good build quality.
Who's it going to appeal to? Do you think?
Well, there's so many people that have got Steam accounts, haven't they? That's the one thing. Steam. I mean, who'd have thought that we were talking now about Steam being a thing? Back in the day, we thought that. So these people want me to have a centralized area where I don't own the game and I give them money, and I can download it whenever I want. This was back in the in the early days of Steam, and people were going, no, I'll go to the shop and buy it and install it when I want to do it. That was our mentality back then, wasn't it? But they're still going around now, and in fact, they're popping up like nobody's business. There's Green Man Gaming, there's GOG, there's Fanatical, there's Humble Bumble. What I'm trying to say is the platforms like Epic and Origin and EA, they're not going away. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it will continue.
I'm just looking at an interesting comment. Ox is saying he doesn't like. Is that Steam? He doesn't like Steam. Neil, would you care to expand on why you don't like Steam? Because I mean, you and I have been into video games on the PC since the old DOS and running this thing to try and increase our memory and all this kind of bollocks, extended memory. And it was an absolute pain in the fucking arse trying to get games to run and all this. Now Steam has kind of made it a breeze. You download the game, you run it, and it just works. So I'm interested to know why you don't like Steam. Could you still technically go onto Amazon and buy the latest Sims game? Can you buy a box?
No, you get it as a download code now.
The days of boxed PC games is no longer.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I mean, I know where Ox is coming from, because I was a pro disliker of Steam for a long time, and that was at the time where digital rights management was in DRM. GOG came along, Good Old Games came along, and they said, we are digital rights management free. We don't put any protection on. We've deprotected everything. The game is yours. You download it. The installer is there. You install it. There you are. You've got the game. Digital rights management. If you remember back in the old days, they were like sniffer programs. People could get things off of your machine. You had to be online all the time. That's the way that you play on Steam now. And so, yeah, there was a time where I disliked Steam. I've listened to it a little bit with Steam now, because, well, you can get so many games without giving Steam any money at all. I can go to Fanatical Games, get 10 games for £1 and put the code in, and it has to load from the Steam launcher. That's all. But Microsoft's Age of Empires can actually be bought under Steam, but you can actually buy it under the Microsoft platform and have the launcher from the Microsoft app that's on your Windows 10 machine. So you don't have to use Steam. It's just that Steam is it's like a big chunk now of the market. It's like most people go to Steam now, and they have so many sales and so forth that if you're just mildly interested in playing a game because you're bored, you could put £1 in and you could come away with 2 or 3 games, because they discount them so much.
Well, you send me bloody about 10 games every month. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, I sent you 4 or 5 today. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I understand. So to use see games that you've got installed in your computer. If your broadband goes down, can you still run them, or will it not let you run them?
I think you can. And this is what Ox is saying. Look, if you want to get hold of Steam games without a login, look for Fit Girl repacks. Now, I know that there are things called offline hacker. That's not what it's actually called, but it's where you can run the launcher without having to load or log into Steam, because the game is actually downloaded on your PC, but it looks at the servers to make sure that you've got a legitimate copy. So it's that same DRM management that we're talking about. So what I'm trying to say is you can block that and still play it. So I think there is an offline version of Steam.
I'll put it this way: I was downloading some Fit Girl stuff, but I had nothing to do with games.
How many drinks have you had? Was that your second? Is it? Just remember that. I remember when I had my first drink, Alan. Yeah, go on. Right. Go on.
Well, here's the thing: we are dinosaurs. We're still we're thinking about the good old days, buying cartridges and tapes and what have you. And the world is a completely different place. I mean, the advances in technology, what we're sitting doing at the moment, sitting talking to each other about people watching and all that kind of stuff. It's incredible what the internet has done. And the internet, we now rely on the internet so much. I mean, when my internet was down for a couple of, about 10 days, about a month ago, you wouldn't believe the things I couldn't. I had to manually go to the boiler and switch the boiler on, because my central heating is controlled with a thing called Hive. It's all done with your mobile phone and, your Alexas and all this kind of bollocks. It's just incredible how much we've become to rely on it. And obviously video games is going the same way now. You don't really buy a game, you don't get a tangible game, you just get a download code. I mean, something which I just found out the other day there on the Xbox and Game Pass, you can, what was I playing? I was playing some fucking baseball game. But all I was doing, I didn't download it, I was fucking streaming it. I was streaming the game from the cloud. So I'm not even downloading the game, it's mental.
That was the other model though, wasn't it? Where you don't have to have the hardware to play the game. It streams it to you hook onto their server and you're playing it on their server with the controller in your hand, basically. That's what cloud gaming was first envisaged as being. So that meant that you could basically, what were they trying to market? They were trying to market that your PC, your humble 386, could be a Cray computer, and you'd be able to play a game on a Cray computer on your 386 and you would not notice the difference. That was the whole point. And that was a streaming service. I didn't like that model at all, because I just turned around and said, it's only as good as your broadband connection. And the broadband is not stable enough for us to have that type of model. So, yeah.
Yeah, Neil's saying, Stealth Banana, you can run offline mode for Steam. Obviously, online games won't work.
Yeah.
He's saying you can just log out. Colin Ferguson saying he hasn't got a clue about PC games. The last computer I had was Amiga 600. DRM removes all resale value. That's the thing. I mean, again, when Commodore brought out the C64 and brought out the Amiga, whatever, companies I don't think for 1 second companies give a shit about, are people going to want to play their computer in 10 years' time, because it's a consumer product, and especially being linked to technology, people want the next thing. So 99% of people don't give a fuck about the fact that they can't play the Commodore 64 or whatever. It's only, where am I going with this? I completely forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, people like ourselves, I want to be able to load up Drop Zone. I want to be able to load up Ridge Racer on the PlayStation. But my daughter upstairs, I don't think she's got no nostalgia. Well, she does occasionally. She'll say to me, "Oh, can you remember that game that we used to play on MameDad, where You've got to go up ladder. I goes, Rodland, oh, I remember that. Can we play that? And she'll very occasionally. I mean, she actually wanted. She asked me if I had a game for, is it Persona 4 or something?
Yeah.
Have you? No, it wasn't Persona. What was it called? Oh fuck it! It's an adventure game. It's by, what's the name of the company that did the Final Fantasy games? What were they called again?
Oh, IDOS. Well, no.
Begins with S, is it?
Yeah, no. Crystal. No, it wasn't Crystal. I've forgotten myself.
Anyway,
Crystal Dynamics.
somebody will tell us. Anyway, the company that make Final Fantasy, Square, is it Squaresoft?
Square Enix. Square Enix.
Yes, yeah, Square Enix. Yeah, they brought out a game. They did a license with Disney, so you had like, I think it was like Mickey Mouse, whatever it is. And she said, "Oh, have you got that game?" I went, "I don't," but I downloaded it and I put it on. And she was playing it. But I don't think kids now have any interest. I don't think they'll bother the fact that they will be able to play. I mean, my daughter plays Roblox and she plays other stuff. I don't think she'll actually care that in 10 years' time she can't go back and play that. Because I think nostalgia is something that's kind of, I don't know. I think because nostalgia to me is tied into having a finite amount of things. When we were kids, we only had one computer. You maybe only at Christmas time. Well, for me, I bought my own games. You had a finite number of games, and so you remember games. You remember the hardware. You remember playing Astro Wars, and you've got the nostalgia. But now, you know, you've got Netflix, everything. You know, you want you want to listen to a song. It's the same with albums. I've got my albums over there. My daughter doesn't have any albums. She doesn't own any tangible music. She'll just go to her Apple Music and say, play whatever it is she listens to. So I don't think so, you know.
But that's the thing, though. We've talked about it a number of times, though, haven't we? But I mean, there are times when I'm at work and I consider myself a fossil. The person that manages me is probably half my age. He's about 20, about 27, 20, 28. So I think that's what his age is. He's never actually said. But what I'm trying to get at is that I've brought out many a time to him. I said, do you remember phones in the hallway? Do you remember ring dial? Do you remember push dial? Do you remember taking pictures to boots to be developed? Because I don't know quite age. You know, it's like he's like late 90s then, I suppose. You know what I mean? And I have a little bit of trouble then by going, so he wouldn't know anything that came out in the 80s. Right. I wonder if he knows what a Polaroid Instamatic camera is then. I wonder if he knows what a fax machine was. You know what I mean? I wonder if he knows, you know, and I, like I said, this is what makes me feel like a fossil. But those were cutting edge for me. That was the equipment I was around, you know, at the time. You know, PC Juniors and terminals and all that sort of stuff. That was my start in an office. You know, when I left school. It doesn't make me less relevant. I'm just saying that I wonder if you were to ask your daughter, I could just imagine the fun in your face when you turn around and said, "Oh yeah, you probably don't know what a Polaroid camera is. This is what and you show her what it is." Is she interested though? Is she interested at all in any of that?
She was. I mean, she was. She, you know, for years. I mean, I remember when she was at primary school. I can't remember what game it was, and I think I was letting her see Manic Miner, and she was having a shot at Manic Miner with the joystick, and I says I can guarantee, I says, if you went to school tomorrow and told your pals who were playing Manic Miner, you would be the only person at that age that even knew that game existed. You know what I mean? But she's kind of moved on from it now. She's more into all that kind of. I mean, I'll tell you some of the. There's a game that she plays. I don't know what it's called. And it's an online game and it's free, and fucking hell, it is. It looks and plays like that New Zelda game, which I can't stand, Call of the Wild or Breath of the Wild, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It is fucking phenomenal, and you think that game is free. I mean, gaming has never been. Well, it's two. There's two sides to this. I was going to say gaming has never been as cheap as it is now. If you want a game on a budget, then you can game on a budget. You can get yourself an Xbox and you can pay your £7.99 and you can go in and download the games, or you can get yourself a PC. You can download Humble Bumble, get yourself 10 games for like £2, whatever.
They are a bit dangerous, though. I have to say, massively multiplayer online role playing games, MMORPG, yeah. Because I remember when I bought my first one, I wanted to play World of Warcraft, but I wasn't prepared to pay any money for it. Right, a subscription. It annoyed me that you'd have to pay every month. So I went down the Guild Wars route. Now, NC Soft was a company that was, I think they're from Japan. And they brought out a model where you bought the package for 49 or 50 quid. It came in a lovely box and it was free. And then they slowly introduced the model where you bought things in game. That's when I started to switch off a little bit. But while that model was turning over into the model of buying in store stuff, I had a whale of a time, but it sucked up so much of my time. That's what I'm getting at. I got home and I instantly wanted to go on, and I'd play till about 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I'd go to work and I'd do that ad infinitum for months. And I knew that this was taking over a big chunk of my life, and I stopped. But I had a ball while it was going on. But I can, and like I said, I still I've still got a Guild Wars 2 account. I still log into it. They still have these Winter's Day events and all this sort of stuff. I remember that you used to go on Christmas and you get a Santa hat or something if you stood next to a Grinch or something and did a yes or no answer for about an hour with these people all doing it, and then they all went away with a hat, and then they were selling them the next week for extortionate amount of money so that you could buy legendary equipment. This is what I mean. It's a whole new language when you start talking about these MMORPGs. But I'm a simple person now, where I'm just happy to load something up and play it. I'm becoming that fuddy-duddy that I thought I'd never be, but I'm happy to know that I still keep my eyes open to new ideas. That's the thing with me. I don't think I'll ever lose that childlike, I want to see that. Even if it's not something that I'm particularly interested in, I'll still go, oh yeah, put it up, I'll show it me. If you were to come in one day to my house and you had a disc and you said, I know you're going to hate this, but can I load it up and show you it? I'm not going to turn around and say, fuck off. I'd let you load it up and I'd watch it and I'd give it a go, because that's the sort of thing I am. You have to open your eyes and you have to give things a go sometimes. You never know when you might come across a diamond in the rough. That's what I say.
Absolutely. So I was trying to look back at the comments, but I can't get this to scroll back up.
Do you want me to say anything? Because I can see some of it.
I know. Tony Walker was asking, do I regret selling all my my handhelds? Yes, I did, Tony, and I've gone and bought them all back again for probably fucking twice the price that I paid for them. Like all these things, I bought them when I bought them. I don't know, when did I buy them? I bought them probably about 2013, 2014. I was getting them. Nobody was interested. Who wanted to play Astro Wars? Nobody was interested in Astro Wars. It was just you could buy them. You could buy them for a tenner. Some of the kind of rarer ones, you had to pay maybe 20 quid. And yeah, they were sitting in the loft. I had no room for them. They were sitting in the loft, and I think it was actually I realised I wasn't playing them. And I thought I need to get some money to put towards my my MAME cab that my mate Dave Dave was going to build for me. So I sold them all. There must have been about 25 of them. I sold them all for I think 200 quid. And I knew that was a cheap price. And yeah, I've paid a lot more for them. But yeah, I've managed to get them all. I think I think I've got them all, bar maybe one that I didn't have. That's one that I had back 10 years ago or whenever it was, 2013. But I've also managed to get a few other ones. And funnily enough, the one that's been the most difficult to get was, do you remember the original white one called Galaxy Invader? It was just white and it's got the wee joystick.
Yeah.
Some reason, I mean, you had that one. Then they brought out Galaxy 1000, which was the yellow one. Then they brought out Galaxy 10,000, which was what do you call it?
This is one that sort of like bulged out like that and then went up at an angle to a front like that. So it was quite long, wasn't it?
Aye, are you talking about the 10,000 one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bright orange. But anyway, yeah. So the white one is the simplest one. And they're just going, well, I'm saying they're getting sold. People are trying to sell them for 200 quid. It's one eBayer, you notice, because it's the same kind of photos he's trying to sell these for 180 quid, £200. I think, to be fair, I think he does open them up. I think he he does recaps them, or I don't think there is caps in these things actually, but he basically cleans them out and all that. But they're not worth that kind of money. I suppose at the end of the day, something is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. But yeah, that white one, that was the last one I bought. I actually managed to get it just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I got it for 40 quid. And
is there an area that you're stopping at, Alan, with those?
I've kind of, yeah. I mean, I'm not interested in the ones that I like. That the ones I remember were all from, I don't know when they first came out, probably 78 to about, I don't know,
82,
when
something like
when
that.
did Astro Wars come out? You know, Firefox, whatever. What was I going to say? Yeah, I've kind of got them all. I've got. Do you remember the Alec Higgins 8-ball?
Well, I was going to say, I did see something this week that I didn't send you the link to, and that's strange for me. But it was a Steve Davis tabletop snooker or cue ball type thing in a handheld. And I remember all of the Astro Wars and the American footballs, and I don't remember seeing too many snooker and pool versions of these VAC.
Are you sure it was the Steve Davis one?
Well, that's what I mean. I'm going to try and look for it, and if I find it at the end of the stream, I'll send it to you. He was trying to fix it, but it was definitely one of those handheld electronics, and it was a Steve Davis endorsed poolish snooker game.
I wonder, maybe Alec Higgins, maybe he got banned from advertising it. But this was back in, this was like early, this was kind of late 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know, interesting. I just saw something. Sorry, Tony's asking, is the original Xbox still working with the emulators? It certainly is, Tony, because Tony very kindly fitted I can't remember what it was, he fitted an 800 gig hard disk for me in the original Xbox, but it's not as simple as, it's not as simple as just plugging it in. I think it only supports a certain size of hard disk or something.
Yeah. Back then, it would have been restricted to the size of the hard drives of the era, or what the manufacturer wanted. So I think the Xbox only allowed up to, I think, 1 terabyte actually. But I could be wrong with that.
There it's there. There it's there. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see it under the telly? There it is.
Oh yeah.
Just above the PS4. It's a bit dark. Can you see it there?
Is it? Because I can see your C64, I can see your PS4 Pro.
There's
a black one with a white light. Oh, right there. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I can see it.
Still got its place under the
TV. You see, I cracked those quite often. There was a lot of people that came up to me and said, "Do you mind putting in this?" Because I had a soldering iron, so all you had to do was just piggyback over the top of the firmware chip, basically, on those. And there was little dip switches that you actually put on the outside of the case, so that you could.
I've got that. Yeah, that's what yeah.
And then when the 360 came out, that was even more complex because the board and the drive had to have the same firmware version. You had to reset it to 0, so you had to flash both the drive and the board so that you could actually play pirated games. That again was a bugbear, but I started to get out of making these machines work when the 360 came out. I thought I can't be asked learning all this again, because taking them to bits was hard enough. And then when you started hearing about the X clamp and you could crack the board and all of this sort of stuff, I started going, I'd rather just not do that. I'll take it round my mate, he'll do it for me. Which is a shame, because I really enjoyed learning how the machines worked. That's how I learned how close to a PC it really was. You know what I mean? The Xbox, and the same with a number of other consoles. You learn that way.
Kev, down the rabbit hole you're heading off. Cheers, Kev. Thanks for joining in, buddy. See you soon, man.
I do love his channel. Thank you very much. Down the rabbit hole.
Kev's got a great channel. What was I going to say? I was talking about it in my waffle, and I know you've tried it. The one thing that I've seen in the Xbox X, which is bloody impressive, is that matrix.
Yes.
I wonder. No, it doesn't matter. I was going to say I could put it on. Do people want to see it?
Well, you
could just turn the TV.
The thing about it is I think it's an Xbox exclusive. I don't think it's on the PS5.
I don't know if it is.
I saw a video of it on YouTube. That's all. When you talked to me on the phone about it, I said, "Oh, I know about it because I saw it on a YouTube video, but I never played it."
Let me just quickly. Let me just see if I can actually switch it on, bring it on. Right, hang on a second. So you've not actually. I know you can get it on the because it was what do you call it? Lawn Boy's post that told me about it a couple of weeks ago, and he's got it on the. He's got an Xbox S. That's what you've got, yeah. That's what
no, I've got an Xbox One. I've just got the old model.
See, right. So you've not right. Wait a minute. Let me just have a quick look. Where is it? What's it called? Yeah, the Matrix Awakens. Right. Hopefully you can. I'm going to turn this around.
Yeah, you can actually stream it onto your PC with the Xbox app with the app. But and it's a beautiful picture. I can see that. Yeah.
I mean that just looks so realistic. Basically this is called the drone. It's like you're in a drone.
Yeah.
So you can go up.
Yep.
I mean, it is beautiful. That could be real life. It really could. It's just.
It's like what Google Earth would like to be.
Actually, what you can do now, if you like, I don't know, let's pick a skyscraper. Right. Well, what we'll do is we'll just fly. We'll go to this one down here.
Yep.
No, Taylor, let's look at this.
If you go head towards that white building, you could almost imitate Hawaii 5-0 with Steve McGarrett on top of the building.
Look at this here. Look at this here. I mean,
if anybody remembers Hawaii 5-0,
look at the detail in this.
Oh yeah.
It is.
And you said you could look through the windows. You said, didn't you?
Look at it. Look at the detail in that. Look at the detail on that. There's even shadow in that.
Yeah.
That is fucking incredible. Look at the texture. I don't know how that's coming across in the stream.
You can definitely see the cracks and everything, on the I mean, it's really. I mean, obviously, it's very impressive.
It's mind blowing. I mean, and you go over here, and you look at there's like the air conditioning unit. You go and look at this up close. I mean, look at the detail in that.
Yeah.
Hang on every second, you can kind of go through things. The detail is absolutely mind blowing. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that's the top. That's the
that is just
tarmac topped on the flat roof.
Stonework. Look at the dirt on the stonework.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you go, woof. There you go. Let's go and look at something else. I mean, look at the steam coming out of that. It is incredible. It is the most impressive computer thing that I've ever seen. So
Colin Jones is showing his age. He said he looked at the clock and he's thinking of Harold Lloyd. And I was thinking exactly the same thing, right? I was thinking exactly the same thing. I think if you're of a certain age, you'd be thinking Harold Lloyd at this point. Yeah.
So what you can do now, wait a wee minute, you press that. I've got the crowd and all that turned off, so let me come down. I'll turn the crowd on, people on, so you'll see people appearing. I've also got traffic turned off. I'll put
see if you've turned it on now, yeah.
So there you go, so let's have a wee look. Let's go down and look at this little guy in the blue. This rather returned woman. We'll look at her backside. You press the Y, and then there you go. That's she just walking. She looks a bit nicer. But again, you just look at the detail. Look at the detail in that concrete.
Yeah.
It is incredible. It really, really is.
So is this this demo on a loop? Have you actually attached the drone to the blue car and seen where it starts and where it goes, and whether it actually does the same route over and over and over again, or whether it actually does go all different places?
What are you talking about? The drone? No, you control the drone.
Yeah, I know. So what I'm saying is, have you actually gone that one bit further by attaching the drone to one of the cars and seeing where it starts and where it ends up?
What are you talking about, like following?
Yeah.
Like before? No, I've not done that. I've not tried that.
Because I'm just wondering whether it's on a loop, where the car only goes to one preset destination and then loops around.
I'm not too sure. I don't know. But basically, any car that's parked, press A, and then you can jump inside it. What's interesting, because it's like the Matrix, if you try and run over people, they just
go through. You just go through them, yeah.
But what you can do is just go, hey, kaboom. And eventually that's me fucked the car. So if I get out, I can now go and survey the damage.
So if you went away for an hour and then came back to this spot, would all those cars still be there?
I think they do, yeah. But honestly, that is, I don't know if it's coming across the video. It is absolutely mind blowing.
I think it came across. It's coming across really well. Obviously, it's a camera pointing at your telly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, that clock was amazing. If you see what I mean. So
it's when you think that you've got that entire city, and that level of detail exists in every single little bit of that game. I mean, it's phenomenal. It really is. I think it's a 20 gig download or something.
But it is good. I mean, yeah. It sounds 20 gig still sounds a lot to me, but it's actually nothing. It really isn't at the moment when you consider compression. I mean, you probably downloaded it at 20 gig. When it expanded itself, it probably went to 60 or 80.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So it's a bit hard to say.
Yeah, it is pretty phenomenal, But
so, what's your hope for the future then, Alan? As we're getting close to the end, I mean,
well, gaming wise,
anything. What in 2022? What's the one thing you're looking forward to, and the one thing you wouldn't be sad to see go? And COVID is not allowed in the answer for that, because we all want that to go.
I don't know. I mean, purely from a personal point of view, I've kind of reluctantly had to accept that my running days are probably behind me. I've tried multiple times over the last couple of years to kind of get back running, and it'll be going all right, and then out the blue, I'll struggle to run a mile, and then it just kind of knocks me right back. And so I've not ran at all for 3 months probably. And the fact that the weather's shit, I don't miss it. I really don't miss it. However, if somebody could instantly wave a magic wand and allow me to be that person that I was, then I would love to be able to go out and just run again. I am lucky that I don't really. It's not about putting weight on. I want to kind of stay fit. I mean, I've joined the gym, which is fair enough. But running on a treadmill or lifting weights isn't my idea of fun. So I've been kind of thinking to myself over the last couple of weeks, or probably the last few months. I realised, I thought, you know what, everything that I was doing hobby wise has kind of disappeared. And I know we don't want to mention COVID, but COVID has played a massive part. People that I was seeing on a regular basis, I don't see anymore. So a lot of that has kind of fallen by the wayside. I was doing my park runs every Saturday, don't do that anymore. And I'm sitting thinking, fucking hell, apart from my YouTube, I don't actually do anything now. And that's never been me. So I've decided I want to take up a new hobby. I've even thought about, I mean, my girlfriend was saying to me, why don't you think about volunteering? And you know what, I would gladly go and do something like that. You know, I don't know, just get out of the house, do something nice. But I was talking to one of my mates, and he goes to one of these mixed kind of martial art. They do lots of things, from wrestling to kicking to using swords to using sticks to breaking pieces of wood. I mean, he puts a lot of photos up on Facebook, and there's every age group from tiny wee kids right up till, you know, whatever. He says it's not for everybody, but I've said to him, look, give me a shout when it restarts. I think it restarts in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, but all things go all right. So I'm planning to go along to that and see how I get on. It might be something that I don't enjoy. I don't know, but I want to get myself a new hobby, definitely. As I mentioned in my waffle, I do want, as much as I enjoy these kind of live streams, I've got bored. I've got bored with doing the Sunday streams. Because it's a bit of fun, but I don't know. I don't get any real. I like the whole artistic aspect of being able to make videos. Some of the stupid videos that I've done in the past, the more kind of historical ones that I do, I've not done them for a long time, and I know they do take up a lot of time, but I want to get back to that. I don't want to go into the whole China Minor thing. We've kind of done that to death, but things got a bit sour for a wee while, and it was all unfortunate the way everything's kind of ended with that. But I need to move on for that, and I hope everyone else kind of moves on from it as well. I still will be doing the Sunday streams, but it's going to be once a fortnight, you know. But like I said, I'll reserve the right to say, you know what, fuck it, I think I'll do one tonight. I'm bored.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll still continue doing things like this, because this is talking to other people rather than playing games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything. You know that everybody here always wants the best for you, and obviously there are people here that stick around because there's a community, but there's also new content to look at. I don't think the new content is primarily the main reason. So I don't think anybody's going to be totally upset to say, hey, look, the Sunday streams is going to take a kick back to maybe 2 weeks or maybe never. These things evolve and move forward. I don't think anybody's disappointed by. Well, they'll be disappointed, but they're not going to not understand it. You know, do you see what I'm trying to say? So,
like anything, if you do, it's like anything in life, whether it's food or a hobby or whatever. If you do something too much, it goes from being something that you really enjoy to becoming a bit of a chore. And I think I've just got a bit bored of the whole thing. So, you know, I'm hoping that if I do drop down, or I am going to drop down to like once a fortnight, people will look forward to it a bit more. Whereas it just becomes, whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What about yourself, Dale? What's your kind of aspirations for this year?
Well, I knew it was going to be difficult because I knew it was going to be chucked back at me. the question. So, the thing I most hope for is a bit more stability for me. That's all I've ever wanted really is to feel a little bit more personal friendship type thing where I can actually meet people, because COVID's made that difficult. But even if COVID wasn't around, I still didn't have many people coming up to see me, and I didn't go and see them. People have moved on. But when I talk about stability, is I worry so much about my job, whether I'll still be in my job month by month, that I can't enjoy life, because I know that I don't have that magic number in my bank that would allow me to go to another job. Do you see what I mean? I think Martin Lewis's money program said you must have. They recommend that you have three months pay packet in your bank account when you're considering moving a job, because it might be 3 months before you find one. If you don't have 3 months, then you're going to struggle, and you might get into then all sorts of credit finance problems. And so, with that hanging over your head, knowing that you haven't got that, I feel that my works has got a foothold on my throat and can keep me where I want to be, because they'll gladly keep you employed as long as you stay where you are and be a lap boy, which I'm not. I value my career. So at some point I've got to put a line in the sand and say, no, I need to move forward. Thank you very much. I just wish you'd have told me this 6 months ago, rather than tick down the clock, which is what I think they're doing. So yeah, I want a bit of stability. What do I want to not see anymore, other than COVID? I think we're going a little bit too mad in regards to what we can see and say. Political correctness gone mad, they used to call it.
I don't think we're ever going to get back, are we?
Well, no, but it's just that I'm sick of a Ghostbusters. There must be a girl version of Ghostbusters. There must be a Jane Bond, not a James Bond. There must be a black person in a white person's role. I went to see, Spider-Man, and it was not woke, is what they call it. What they said was they gave the fans what the fans wanted. And I must have turned around and say, yes, that's true, right? You didn't like the Matrix film, and I didn't like the Matrix film. And if you do watch that, you will find that there is a ton of character turnaround or wokeness in it. And you're just going, why does Hollywood keep doing this? Because that's not what people want. People want now what they used to see. If James Bond is a bloke, why turn it around? You don't. Oh, I could go on for ages. So I'd like less of that, please.
Yeah.
But I don't. But I don't think it'll happen. The thing is that I feel under pressure sometimes when I'm listening to Radio 5. I've got no denying that I listen to Radio 5 because it's a conversational piece, right? There are people on there that make me sad to be a man. There are these people that come on saying about that blokes are beating up women, and it makes me feel awful, that there are people out there that do this. But I tend to find that they don't do the other side. Women have beaten blokes up, right? There is always, BBC is supposed to be impartial, but they're not. They're certainly not. And the more you listen to one program, the more you'll see that. And I don't like to feel bad about me being a male. And I feel sometimes I'm going through life apologizing for something I haven't even done. Right? You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but a typical example, let's put it back into game context. There was an Anno game, I think, released this year that they've taken slavery out of the game. It's set in an era where ships are on the sea and there is a commodity that they're selling, and the biggest selling commodity at the time was slavery, and they took that totally out of the game. What I think we have to do is respect the history.
Of course, it is. History is in the past.
If you were to take Hitler out of the equation, then it doesn't make World War II. Because do you see what I mean?
We're never going to learn. We're never going to learn from our mistakes if we try and erase the bad things that have happened.
I do feel bad for people where they tear down a statue, and the reason they tear down a statue is they believe that this thing is mocking them, and I do get that. You know what I mean? What I'm talking about here, but I also know that that was a piece of history. It's you know. You have to see both sides of these things. You know what I mean? If they were to tear down everything that was to do with history, we would be more in like America. They don't have too many buildings that go back hundreds of years. If we keep tearing things down and just writing about what it was, then you can't experience it anymore. I mean, if somebody turns around to me tomorrow and says that I don't know, that the oldest building in London was built with slave money, so we're going to demolish it, I'd say, whoa, hang on a minute. Somebody buy it then now. And then it can't be been built with slave money, right? It's been bought now, so it's the owner's responsibility for it now. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to respect the fact that that was a history thing. At the time it was accepted. It's not right that it was accepted.
Yeah.
But it's just that we're intelligent enough now to understand that that was history and that was then. Do you know what I mean? So that's all I'd like to say about that. I don't want to go any further with it.
No, we're getting a bit too down. But listen, just a quick one. I saw ZX Renew made a comment to say that he just lost his job a few days ago. Really sorry to hear that, buddy. I hope he did mention he's got a few irons in the fire. I mean, I can just say from a personal point of view, I've been in that situation quite a number of times, and excuse me, if you want a job, there are jobs out there, and in most cases, you're positive. Try and stay positive, and you will 100% get something, and you'll 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up in something better, and that's always been the way it's worked out for myself. You know what I mean? So I hope everything works out for you, ZX. I really do, mate.
That snap from me.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're coming from with that. I can tell you now.
I know it's such a common thing. So, listen, I think we've just hit the 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 16. So I think we probably need to kind of wrap this one up.
Bloody hell, hang on.
So, yeah, we've still got 22 people watching, which is excellent. That's wonderful. Like I said, this was just a wee impromptu. I just wanted to cheer myself up, get a few mates on, get Dale on, and just have you guys on and have a bit of a laugh because, yeah.
I'm putting something in the room for people to cheer them up.
Now, apologies if you're waiting for the end of the film, but you're going to have to go and subscribe to Sky or else download it on YouTube or something. Unless you want me to, I'll exit the stream, Dale, and you can get away to your bed, mate. You might want to.
No, I definitely will be sort of like going to bed, but I don't know if it's shown up in the room, but I've just put a little link in the room. Whenever there was about 35 or 40 years ago, I watched this film, and it was like a Kentucky Fried Movie type film, and I had a bad day today, and I was looking through some of my notes, and there was this 5-minute sketch that was in a film called Amazon Women on the Moon, and it sounds dirty, that film, but it's not, and it cheers me up. I'm not going to ask Alan to show it because I don't want him to get a copyright strike, but it is 40 years ago, but it's so funny. It's hilarious. I don't know whether it's showing up in the room because I'm not signed into YouTube for me to comment. Every time I try it says you need to sign in, it says. So
no, it's not appeared in the comments, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do anything there.
Well, can you not comment? Can you not comment?
No, you have to sign in to comment.
Oh, right.
And I'm already signed into all sorts of different places, so I can't do it. it's a shame, but it's really really funny. That was all. No, it's not showing us yet. I don't think I can do anything to change it.
I can't.
Hang on, just bear with me. Maybe this will work. Has that come up yet? Hopefully that's done it.
No. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I can see it there. Yeah, HTTPS YouTube. There's Miss Brereton. Holly, you've literally tuned in.
Hey, there's being late, but that's I'm sorry, but you know what I mean.
Before we wrap it up, obviously the biggest news of 2021, the thing that I've really been, you're asking me what I'm looking forward to, it's obviously going to be Way of the Exploding Pish.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be game of the year, fucking hands down. Absolutely. I've got no doubts Holly's going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be great. Then
we've got to have a sequel, you see, because everything has to be a trilogy. We'll have to have Defender of the Pish or something like that. I don't know, you know.
I'm sure it's going to be a good one. So listen, guys.
Can you imagine that though? Can you imagine that though? Defender of the Crown with the 4 sort of like heads, you know, where there's Geoffrey Longsword and there's your picture with a cap. But anyway.
Anyway, that bombshell, guys, I'm going to get off to bed. So listen, thanks very, very much to everybody that's tuned in tonight. It's made me very happy. It's cheered me up a lot.
Yes.
And massive thanks to you, Craig, for taking part in this.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem.
Been good fun. So like I said, once again, guys, Happy New Year. Thanks for all the continued support to the channel. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to mix things up a wee bit. Like I said, you know, when you start getting a bit bored, when things stop being fun, you need to change it. And I'm sure you guys understand that. So listen, until next time, guys, as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.